Good morning, welcome to the vlog. You say good morning. Morning. I'm sitting here with a very happy Elin, who I'm about to give her morning medicines. It is 5 to 8 in the morning, so I'm getting her ready. She's still in her pajamas. And yes, they are Christmas pajamas in May, because that's the kind of mother I am. Yes, she's still in... Yeah, I know, crappy mummy. I'm gonna give her medicines, and then I'm gonna change her and get some clothes on. And then we're gonna go to school. I'm actually trying to show you a little bit of Elin's feeding tube here, which isn't too easy. And I'm gonna pick up the camera in a moment to show you a bit more. But at the moment, we have that much left of feeding tube for Elin. And the reason I'm talking about this is because Elin is actually due surgery on her stomach to change the feeding tube into something called a button. And in her case, it's going to be a Mickey button. There are a few different brands, but Mickey is the one that Elin is going to be getting, because that's what they put in at Addenbrooke's Hospital, where she goes to gastro. And I wanted to give you a little bit of an update about why Elin is going to have this surgery, what's happened so far, what we're waiting for. One of the reasons, which I've hopefully made fairly clear by now, is we have barely any tube left. When it was roughly this long when we just started, like we have a third of the tube left. And the tube is degrading fast now. Every time that this end here comes off it, we need to cut a bit of the tube in order to reattach the end for it to stay on. So we've been having quite a lot of issues with the tube lately, in terms of it getting shorter and shorter and the end not staying on. So that's one of the reasons why we urgently need to get her tube changed. We're going for a Mickey button because we give Elin a blended diet. So if you are following us and you know a lot about us, then you know that we give Elin real food, pureed into a very fine puree, and we put that straight through the tube. It is not recommended to give a blended diet through a PEG. PEG is the tube that Elin currently has. It's a very narrow tube, and the risk of blockage is quite big. And I'm not 100% sure of this, but I suspect that part of the reason that the tube is degrading is because we give real food. How long a tube lasts very much depends on what you give through it. And there are medicines that are known to degrade it, and of course there's some foods that do also degrade it. Some people go with one tube for 7 years. Elin's had her for 2.5. Yes, so we are going to change from a PEG to a Mickey button. Why does Elin have a feeding tube? Why do you have a feeding tube? You gonna tell them? She has a feeding tube because even though she was eating orally when she was younger, she was actually breastfed as a baby. So she was breastfed as a baby, and then she was eating orally and she was drinking out of baby bottles. And we fought a feeding tube for so long, but Elin wasn't able to eat enough. It's when you have the kinds of neurological damage that Elin has, eating is hard work and not entirely safe. She would expend so much energy to eat, and then she'd be exhausted, and she just didn't get enough calories into her. She's in such a good mood this morning. We eventually accepted that a feeding tube was inevitable, even though we had fought getting one for so long, because we really didn't want it. By the time we did get a feeding tube in, we were battling a lot of other things with Elin. I mean, vomiting's always been an issue, but it was getting very bad. And we stopped giving her food orally because just giving her food through the tube itself was a battle. We needed to get her volume tolerance up and her calorie tolerance up, and it was like she tolerated nothing, and she was on one formula and then on another formula and then on a third formula and then on a fourth formula, and nothing worked, nothing stayed, everything made her throw up. Then we had a call with her gastroenterologist, and they suggested a blended diet. Basically said it's absolutely no certainty, but some children tolerate real food better than they tolerate formula. And this is what you now have got to try, because the next step is that we put in what's called a G-jedge. So Elin has a G-tube, her tube goes into her stomach. A G-jedge goes into stomach and has an extension that goes into a part of the intestine called the jejunum. And if you feed into the jejunum, you can't vomit it out because it's too far down. But jejunum feeds have to be incredibly slow, so she would basically be on 24-hour continuous feeding. The other thing that they would do as well in that is what's called a Nissen fundoplication, which is where they take the opening of the stomach and they twist it so it becomes narrower. And a Nissen fundoplication should in theory mean you can no longer throw up. I have heard really good result stories about a Nissen fundoplication, how that's really changed things. I've also heard really bad ones. And I've heard of occasions where it's just come undone. So I'm not too keen on trying a Nissen fundoplication if I don't have to. So we basically went, right, okay, so we've got big surgery, or we have a completely non-surgical and non-medical intervention to try. Well, we're going with that one. And that's why we started a blended diet. And she's been on the blended diet for almost exactly a year now, and it has helped. It's not been an overnight sensational, oh my God, everything's different, but it's helped. And she's finally putting on weight, she's finally increasing her tolerance, and she's finally vomiting less. She has more energy, she vocalizes more, she laughs more, her skin color looks better, all of those things. There's been only positive things that have happened with the blended diet. Maybe they could have been bigger and more life-changing than they were, but actually it's been good. But she has a peg, not a Mickey button. And so we get no official support from Elin's healthcare team for this. The dietitian is legally not allowed to support it. School is legally not allowed to feed her. We can't access respite care because they're legally not allowed to feed her. Dad and I have to go into school every day. We swap days and give her lunch because otherwise she's going through an entire school day with nothing, or we put her back on formula. And when it comes to long-term hospital stays, again, they are legally not allowed to give her blended diet unless she has a Mickey button. So, if you have been following our vlogs for a while, you might know that this is the second piece of surgery, or well, one of two pieces of surgery that Elin's going to be having this year, because she's going in for major hip surgery. And she's going to be in hospital for a minimum of 10 nights after that. And I spoke to Stanmore Hospital, the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, where this is happening. I spoke to their dietitian and I got the answer: we will support a blended diet provided she has a Mickey button. Okay, so we need to get the Mickey button. The referral for the Mickey button actually went out before the referral for the hip. We did hear back from Gastro before we heard back from Stanmore, and we had a conversation with the surgical team there who agreed to put through for a peg to Mickey operation, and told me that the peg to Mickey counts as urgent, so they are allowed to do it even with COVID restrictions, and that Elin was going to go on the immediate waiting list. And then we heard nothing. It was in January that I had confirmation she was getting this and that it was going to be urgent. And he said, when I say urgent, you're not going to hear from us in the next week, but you're definitely going to hear from us in the next few weeks. And I heard nothing. I heard nothing. Whew. I chased it late April. And I got to speak to one of the surgical nurses there, and we went through everything to do with why it was urgent. And actually in April it was even more urgent because we'd lost about 5 centimeters of tube by then. So the degradation of the tube, the fact that we give blended diet, and the fact that she's got this upcoming hip operation. And she said, right, okay, well, from what I hear, we don't need to have her in here next week as in an absolute emergency case, but really we need to have this done within the next couple of months. Yes! And then we heard nothing again. So we are waiting on a pre-op assessment, we are waiting on an operation date, and as for the hip surgery, we've already had the pre-op assessment, and they are literally waiting for us to say Mickey button is happening at date blah, and then they will book Elin in for her hip surgery. And I just really want to be able to plan a little bit and know what's happening. Okay, here's Elin's tummy, and I've got a tubey pad on at the moment, but this is the tube. as it looks. So let me undo this clip and I'll remove the tubey pad and it will make a little bit more sense. The tube is held in place inside the stomach with a flexible round disc, and then it's held in place outside the stomach with this clip here that we can move and change. A Mickey button looks like this. This bit here goes inside the stomach. This is a balloon that you blow up and that's what holds it in place. And then this bit here sits flush on the skin. So the difference, massive difference obviously is going to be that she's just going to have this button here rather than a long tube that dangles and gets stuck into everything. And then you attach an extension whenever you need to feed. And then you take that off and you can clean it. Well, that's it for this vlog. I'm going to update as and when I know more. You're going to say bye-bye, YouTube. Thank you for watching. And as always, if you want to follow with us in this journey of Peg to Mickey from referral to post operation, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I'm going to be vlogging everything. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Take care. Bye.